Something unprecedented just happened in the House of Representatives, and the political establishment is still trying to process it. 20 Republicans broke ranks, crossed the aisle, and voted with Democrats to overturn a presidential executive order stripping collective bargaining rights from federal workers. The vote was 231 to 195. This wasn't supposed to happen. Every political analyst said it was impossible. But it did, and the implications reach far beyond this single vote. For months, federal workers have operated under executive orders that eliminated their collective bargaining rights. These aren't abstract bureaucrats in ivory towers. These are the people processing veterans' benefits, inspecting food safety, coordinating disaster relief, and maintaining border security. The executive order effectively silenced their ability to negotiate working conditions, advocate for fair treatment, or influence how they perform their jobs. The administration framed this as streamlining government efficiency. But for federal workers and their families, it meant job insecurity and lost protections built over decades. Communities dependent on federal employment watched as workplace rights eroded through executive action, bypassing the legislative process entirely. Enter the discharge petition. This parliamentary mechanism allows House members to force a vote on legislation that leadership refuses to bring to the floor. It requires 218 signatures, a majority of the House, making it extraordinarily difficult to execute. Speaker Johnson had every intention of keeping the Protect America's Workforce Act buried, protecting the administration from a politically uncomfortable vote. But Representative Jared Golden, a Democrat from Maine, started collecting signatures anyway. He knew the odds. Discharge petitions rarely succeed because they require cross-party cooperation in an era defined by partisan division. What made this different was Representative Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania. Fitzpatrick, a Republican, didn't just sign the petition, he actively recruited colleagues to join him. The names matter because what these 20 Republicans did required genuine political courage. Brian Fitzpatrick, Jeff Van Drew, Chris Smith, and Tom Keene Jr. represent districts where federal workers live and vote. They looked at their constituents and decided protecting collective bargaining rights mattered more than party loyalty. When they signed that discharge petition, hardliners in their own party booed them on the House floor. The White House reaction has been vicious. Administration officials immediately labeled these 20 Republicans as traitors to the party. Conservative media outlets began calling for primary challenges. The message was clear: dissent will be punished. Independent thinking is betrayal. This response reveals something crucial about how power operates when it relies on intimidation rather than persuasion. But here's what the backlash misses. These 20 Republicans represent constituencies, not party leadership. Their oath is to the Constitution, not to any single administration. When they voted to restore collective bargaining rights for federal workers, they weren't staging a rebellion. They were responding to voters in their districts who depend on stable federal employment and fair workplace protections. The mechanics of what happened tell you everything about the current state of American democracy. A discharge petition succeeding means leadership lost control. It means enough members decided procedural loyalty mattered less than substantive policy. When that vote counter reached 218, when the magic number appeared on screens across the chamber, the realization hit: the script had been torn up. For federal workers watching from home, this vote represents restored dignity. For months, they've gone to work wondering whether their years of service still mattered, whether their voices would ever be heard again. The executive order stripping bargaining rights sent a message that their input was disposable, that management decisions would proceed without worker consultation. The Protect America's Workforce Act reverses that. It restores collective bargaining rights for federal employees, reinstates workplace protections, and reaffirms that public servants deserve fair treatment. This isn't radical policy. It's returning to the status quo that existed for decades under both Republican and Democratic administrations. Speaker Johnson now faces a legitimacy crisis within his own caucus. 20 members just demonstrated they'll bypass leadership when they believe policy demands it. That's not a small crack in party discipline. That's a fundamental shift in how power operates within the House Republican Conference. The broader implications extend beyond this single vote. When elected representatives prioritize constituent needs over party pressure, when they use procedural tools to force accountability, when they accept political risk to protect workplace rights, democracy functions as designed. Not perfectly, not without conflict, but functionally. The administration's response, calling dissenters traitors and threatening primary challenges, reveals an approach to governance built on fear rather than persuasion. But when 20 members stand together, when they realize safety exists in numbers, intimidation loses its effectiveness. You can't punish everyone without destabilizing your own coalition. What happened in the House today wasn't just about federal workers or collective bargaining rights. It was about whether institutional checks on executive power still function. It was about whether elected representatives can vote their conscience when party leadership demands otherwise. The answer, unexpectedly, was yes. And that matters for every American who believes democracy requires more than blind partisan loyalty.